You probably are familiar with Charles Dickens' classic, A Christmas Carol. Every year a movie is made out of it or shows up on TV. I mean, it's a holiday classic. If you need a little bit of a reminder, Marley dies, but he comes back 7 years later to have a talk with his friend Scrooge. But Marley's dead. And he tells Scrooge, who's a grouchy old miser who, talk about stingy. I mean, what are you going to do with all that money? You know, he's an old man with all this money. But he's about to get visited by 3 ghosts. The ghost of Christmas past, the ghost of Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas future, to open his eyes a little bit about, what's been going on with him and how he needs to change. Oh, trying to open up the chicken coops this morning. Well, he finally wakes up after, not wakes up, because he was awake the whole night basically, but he gets returned to his bed in the early morning hours, and he runs to the curtain and he sees a little boy and asks him, "What day is today?" And the child says, "It's Christmas, for heaven's sakes." Scrooge is thrilled. He hasn't missed Christmas. He hated it before. He hated everything. He hated people. But now he loves Christmas. He's a changed man. He asks the boy, "Is the goose that's been in the window of the butcher still there?" And the little boy says, "The one as big as me?" And Scrooge laughs and says, "Yes." And the boy says it's still there. So Scrooge asks him, "Go get the butcher and have him bring the goose to me, and I'll give you a whopping amount of money." So the boy runs off and gets the butcher out of bed, and they show up with this Christmas goose. And, well, Scrooge tells him where to take the goose and pays and everything. Well, I was talking to someone at a hatchery a few years ago. Don't even remember why I called the hatchery. And it might have been because for a while I was looking for a gander for my 2 geese. I had bought a breeding pair of geese, which are not a breeding pair of geese. They both lay eggs. So clearly they're not a breeding pair. But I was interested for a while in getting a gander for my 2 Emden geese. And so that may have been why I had contacted this representative, this woman at the hatchery. I really don't remember. But we got to talking about the Christmas Carol and what kind of goose might have been the Christmas goose that Charles Dickens had written about. Now, obviously, there is no indication whatsoever in the book about the breed of goose. But Emden geese are a meat bird. You don't get Emden geese because you want a lot of eggs. You buy them for the meat. For centuries, they've been raised first in England for the meat. When you go to the grocery store, you're probably, and you buy a goose, you're probably buying a young Emden goose, in all likelihood, because they are a meat bird. And these are Emden geese, 2 females. I have since decided not to bother with a gander, because I've decided not to breed them. And these 2 girls are not going to be eaten. They are going to have a nice life here. If somebody were to contact me saying they're in need of female geese and would I consider selling, I might sell. But because right now these are pets. They do guard. They do have a function, but my original purpose for getting them has changed. But anyway, talking to this woman, I learned that in all likelihood, the Christmas goose in Charles Dickens' story was probably an Emden goose, a very large, mature one. And so I just thought I'd share that with you. I don't know if you ever think about things like that. I never did until I got geese and started, wondering in the story what kind of goose that might have been. But there are a lot of different kinds of geese, but most of the time, Emden are what are raised for meat. Not always, but often. So if you've ever by any chance wondered what the goose might have looked like before it appeared in the window, it was much bigger than this. Probably a gander, probably pretty big, but it was probably an Emden goose. And if you're interested in raising geese for your own Christmas goose, look into an Emden, because that is the type of goose that is raised for meat. And if you're interested in an exotic, rare, endangered duck, consider a silver Applegate, because their numbers are kind of few, and they're beautiful. So I just wanted to share this short little story, Christmas story with you, of what Charles Dickens' Christmas goose probably was, what breed it probably was. And I hope you have a wonderful Christmas month and focus on the real meaning of what Christmas is all about. It isn't getting a bunch of presents on one day and eating a feast. It's about a lot more than that. So you have a wonderful day and a wonderful month.